Hello everyone, my name is Tian Mongshen, and today our group's topic is the relationship between the US loose monetary policy in the global pandemic and the international status of the US dollar. In the following presentation, our question is, will the pandemic significantly weaken the international status of the US dollar? I will introduce the background for you, and my teammates will talk about the other parts with you. Well, in early 2020, a global pandemic outbreak began to deeply affect people's life, including the global economy. And according to the IMF Economic Outlook released in October 2020, the global economic growth rate will decline to negative 4.4% in 2020, and negative GDP growth will occur in over 170 countries. And as to America's financial market, stock market declined closely to 40% from the February in 2020 to March in 2020. And besides, the economic growth rate of the United States decreased from 2.2% in 2019 to negative 4.3% in 2020. And in response to this economic effects, Federal Reserve released QE policy, and as a result, total assets on the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve expanded from the 4 trillion and 115 billion US dollar on 26 February in 2020 to 7 trillion and 240 billion US dollars in 9 December in 2020. And next, my teammates will discuss the changes in the international status of the US dollar from the financial crisis outbreak in order to talk about prospects for the international status of the US dollar in current pandemic.
Hi, Professor. My name is Zhang Hongyao. Today, I want to share with you how the US dollar's international status changed from 2008 to 2019. From these slides, we can see the three major functions of international currency, which we can conclude from that the US dollar maintained dominant positions in this period. First of all is the means of payment. We can see from the picture that US dollar surpassed the euro as the most important international payment currency at this time point. And the Chinese yuan as the global payment is still far from pounds and yen, let alone the dollar and euro. Here is the Chinese yuan. About the valuation tools, we can see the dollar is always dominant. And the reserve tools, the highest line is the US dollars, which is absolutely dominant. So here is question: why the status of dollar stays strong after the financial crisis? We can see there are three direct reasons and two deep reasons here. You can say that we can talk about these reasons later. Here is the three direct reasons. The first reason is U.S. economy recovered significantly faster than other advanced economies. We can say the average annual growth rate in the United States was 2.3%, which is much higher than other countries. And the asset price in the US financial market is really attractive. This is because the cumulative gains of Dow Jones Industrial Average were 228.3%, which is much higher than other major index in the world. And the third one is the dollar index generally strengthened. You can see from this point about the end of 2015, the dollar index was strengthened greatly. Here is the two deep reasons. We can see this phenomenon from two perspectives. First, from the perspective of institutional arrangements. The first one is the Federal leveraged bilateral US dollars liquidity swaps with other central banks. And the other is the Federal maintained the original temporary bilateral swap measures. Here we list some of the countries which have bilateral dollar swap agreements signed with the United States. Let's see this phenomenon from the characteristic of the dollar. We know dollar have long been considered the most important safe haven asset in the world, and also the Fed can buy government debt through QE regardless of investors' concern over sustainability of government debt and the possibility of currency devaluation. So these 2 points give US government a big advantage in globalizing domestic financial crisis. That's my part. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Yao Xiaokun, and I would like to proceed our analysis and discuss will the pandemic weaken the international status of the US dollar. So to analyze the current competition position of US dollar, if we put the US dollar in a matrix with self-situation in the horizontal side and the competitor situation on the vertical side, we'll find that the US dollar is currently at the best situation in this block. So to elaborate, from the internal side, which is the self side, firstly, we find that US governmental large-scale monetary stimulus plan is faster and stronger than that of other developed countries, especially the EU. We know that EU is still very hard to reach to, and a large-scale monetary stimulus plan. And also, the bilateral US dollar swap mechanism has been expanded and strengthened, which has been expanded from C6 islands to C15 islands after the pandemic. And from the external side, which is the competitor side, Firstly, we will find that the pandemic has also seriously hit other major economies, especially has impaired dollar's major competitor, euro. From the report of the IMF in 2020, the US economy growth rate will fall from 2.2% in 2019 to minus 4.3% in 2020. Meanwhile, the European economy growth will fall from 1.3% in 2019 to minus 8.3% in 2020. This means that the gap between the US dollar, between US and that of European countries will increase from 0.9% in 2019 to 4% in 2020. And also, the future global financial market turmoil is also expected to strengthen the position of US dollar and US Treasury bonds as safe-haven assets. However, uncertainty also exists. For the future threats for dollar's international status, we would like to look closely to two questions and two problems in the future. The first is, will the Trumpism develop in Biden era? So if the protectionism and unilateralism have not been weakened significantly after Biden comes into power, we would like to say that the attraction of US dollar will also be affected strongly. And secondly, another problem is how long will the pandemic last? We already know that Chinese government has implemented strong prevention measures and Chinese economy has recovered rapidly. So if the pandemic lasts in the world for next few years, Chinese strong economy will also promote renminbi as significantly in the future. So these are two things we would like to follow in the future. And this brings us to the conclusion of our presentation. We have analyzed dollar's solid status after the financial crisis and argued that if a pandemic can be controlled in the near future, the dollar will still be strengthened. And we would like to follow this trend and this problem in the future, and we'll see what will happen next. Thank you for your attention. As for our career and industry questions, we are very, very interested in how the pandemic and the COVID-19 has affected the financial industries. Thank you.